Our next speaker is the founder of the Conversation Coach, which is a service that coaches people with high-stakes conversations. She also is chief of staff at Socratic Labs, which is an accelerator and community for education technology entrepreneurs. So please welcome to the stage Princeton University and Woodrow Wilson School graduate, Deborah Chang.
Hi, my name is Deborah Chang, and like was said, I work in education entrepreneurship. I'm also Princeton class of 2010. Now, when I was a senior at Princeton University, I applied to only one job, and that was Teach for America. The reason I only applied for one job was because I thought life looked something like this: a series of steps, one that followed another, and that was life. And I thought this and acted on this pretty much my entire life. In high school, I only applied to one college, early decision at Princeton University. And then each year at Princeton, I only applied to one program or summer internship for that summer. And so my thought process my senior year was I would apply for Teach for America. I would do Teach for America for 2 years. I would continue teaching for 2 or 3 more years. Then become an assistant principal or dean. And then ultimately start my own academic career. And I thought this was my life plan because I was passionate about teaching. I believe in making a big difference in people's lives through education. And my mentors in education, the people I admired the most, this was the path that they followed. This worked pretty well until about 2 years ago, when I moved from teaching middle school science in Houston, Texas, to teaching second grade all subjects in New York. And that's where my life plan fell apart, because I was an awful second grade teacher, truly atrocious. And my students were learning, my classroom was in a constant state of chaos. And it wasn't because I wasn't trying hard enough. I worked late nights, I worked weekends, I got into school really early, and I always asked my principal to do that support. It just wasn't the right role for me. And so in December of that year, I made the really difficult decision that my students needed an education that was powerful and strong for them, but that I wasn't the teacher to give them that education. And I resigned. And for the first time in my life, I had failed. And I didn't know what to do. Because for my entire life, I had been taught how to be successful, but not how to fail. I think that's probably true of a lot of people in this room right now. I mean, in elementary school, when I got 100% on quizzes and tests, my teacher would put a smiley face on it. I never had a teacher say to me, "Wow, you got 100% on that test. It must have been too easy for you. Here, try something a little more challenging. I think you're going to really struggle with it." And then when we apply for colleges, and when we apply for jobs, we try to package ourselves in the best way possible. And even when I wrote about overcoming challenges, it was in the context of overcoming, and not in the context of saying, and this is what I have challenges with right now. But this problem of having your life plan fall apart is not unique to me. Here's a statistic that I think is going to be really powerful about showing why we can't really have a life plan. According to a U.S. Department of Labor report, of the children who are in schools right now, 65% of them will be working in jobs that have not yet been created. We're already feeling this now, because if you take a look at another study, 91% of millennials, people in our generation, plan to stay in their current job 3 years or less. There are whole industries shifting and changing quicker. This means that life will look more like this. You go to a job, you find, this doesn't really work for who I am or what I value. Then you try something different, and you feel like it. But then all of a sudden, it seems like overnight your industry changes, and you need to try something new. So you go into 3 different directions, and you find 2 that don't work, and 1 that kind of does, and you continue working on that. And so the only thing that's certain about the future is that it's uncertain. So failure is inevitable. And if failure is inevitable, we need to work that into our process of learning and growing. I'm not saying that this is easy. When I resigned from teaching, I was lost for about a didn't know who I was when I wasn't a teacher, because for so long, my whole identity was wrapped up in being a teacher. Luckily for me, at the same time that I was going through this process of self-discovery and building up my self-confidence, I started rock climbing. And rock climbing gave me the opportunity to learn how to be successful in something that I was a complete novice at. And as I continued learning how to rock climb, I realized that rock climbing treats failure very differently. Unlike the real world, you are expected to fail. You're expected to fail often and to fail publicly. In other words, you're expected to fall off the wall. And so as I was going through this parallel process, I learned that rock climbing became this perfect analogy for how to fail successfully. And those are the lessons I want to share with you today. Lesson number 1. There's more than one wall. The wall that you see climbing in this picture is called the high wall. There's also one that looks more like a cave, and one that's at a steep incline of 45 degrees. Each wall requires a different set of skills, and each climber enjoys and likes climbing different walls. My mistake when I was a senior in Princeton was thinking that I needed to follow someone else's path. That I needed to do exactly what someone else did. Now that I'm in entrepreneurship, I realize that I make my own path. And remember, there are paths that have not been created yet. Lesson number 2 is to follow on purpose. The high wall is the most difficult wall for me to climb. And that's because the move that you do 2 feet off the ground, when I'm 8 feet off the ground, 10 feet off the ground, 12 feet off the ground, I'm scared to death. And at first, I couldn't even try to do it. The way I got over this was I would climb to when I was just a little bit scared. And then I would purposely do something I knew I would fail at, and I would purposely fall. And the funny thing is, the more you do this, the more you purposely fall, the more you realize failure is survivable. And then I was able to climb higher and higher and higher. And now when I'm at the very top of the high wall, I feel perfectly comfortable taking these big risks. In the same way, when I first started looking for jobs after teaching, I was really scared of asking for networking meetings. My parents aren't professionals, and I just didn't grow up in this environment where we asked to meet for people for coffee. But I did it anyway. And was I bad at it at first? Absolutely. I feel really sorry for the people I met for those first coffees because I didn't know how to ask the right questions, I didn't know how to follow up. But like rock climbing, the more I took these meetings, the more I failed at it, the better I got. And so now I'm really comfortable just saying, okay, let's talk, because we both have something really interesting to say. Lesson 3 is to land on a crash pad. That blue thing at the very bottom is actually about a meter high and very soft. It allows climbers to fall, to get up, and get on the wall and try again. One of the best things I did early in my career was to save as much money as I could. Because that was my financial crash pad. It was my ability to be able to survive resigning from my job. So while it was difficult for me personally, at least financially, I knew that I could pay for food and I could pay for rent. And now that I'm in entrepreneurship, I'm also doing freelance consulting. Because again, that financial cash pad gives me the freedom and the ability to do whatever I can with the rest of my time and to take those big risks. Next, find good partners. My friends in climbing are some of the best friends I've ever had. And that's because they tell me where to go on the wall. They give me encouragement. And especially when we're climbing outside, my life is literally in their hands. They're there to catch me if I fall. In the same way, good mentors who are able to guide you, good friends who are able to encourage you, and people who can pick you up from the wall, they can make the difference between staying stagnant or being able to move on. Lesson number 5. Choose just right problems. If you take a look at this picture, there are a lot of different colors on the wall. Each color stands for a different root, or in rock climbing, a different problem. And they range from easy problems that are at a grade called B0 to the very difficult problems at about B15. Currently, I'm a B3 climber. That means I'm not even going to touch B7s. do I do B3s, B4s? I choose just right problems. One of the things I did really well in moving from the very structured world of teaching to the very unstructured world of working with startups was that I took a halfway step. I decided to work in a school district first. And at that school district, I was able to learn skills of project management and working organizational politics, all things that I was able to bring to my work in startups. The final lesson is take the lead. At some point, as a rock climber, I trained as hard as I could. I've gotten all the guidance that I need. I've made sure that if I fall, I fall on something that will let me get up again. So I just need to commit. I just need to take that leap for the long haul. So now, I no longer say that I am in one job. Instead, I say that I am committed to solving the big problems in education through entrepreneurship. And that the problem I'm really working to solve right now is how to bridge the gap between entrepreneurs and educators. This may be through a role in a big company or through a startup. I'm also learning how to code so I can eventually build products of my own. I no longer assume that my life is going to go according to plan. In fact, I assume just the opposite.